Go on, Justin Thomas back in the winner's circle. 3 years. 3 years. First win at the RBC Heritage. 3 years. Best PGA Championship. Unbelievable stuff from Justin Thomas. Sorry he wasn't back last week. Had a load of technical difficulties, as you can see this week. I'm using my wireless microphone because this thing was making squeaky, weird sounds. My Shure SM7B. So absolute nightmare. But yeah, unbelievable couple of weeks just gone by. Last weekend as well, we had 2 each ways. If you follow me on Twitter, on X, Niall McGrath 4, on Instagram, I post them there, and I also post them here on the page because I couldn't do a show last week. And there they are. They're up. I've actually the tips up already from today. I know this is a little bit laid out. As I said, I've been having a nightmare. My ticker isn't working on the screen. There's been loads of little things sort of just all happening at once the last couple of weeks. But as I said, Justin Thomas, unbelievable stuff. We'll start there because we didn't get to talk about it last week at the RBC Heritage. Brilliant to see him back in the winner's circle. We said he's been trending in the right direction. Up to number 5 in the world now as well. Just brilliant for him. Unbelievable stuff. Kept the driver at a minimum. Kept it in play when he had to. Was really calm, composed, the Justin Thomas of old. And it's just setting up the year so well for the US PGA Championship later this month, with him back in the mix, and obviously Rory, going for a 5th win at Quail Hollow next month. But really, just incredibly calm, Justin Thomas. Even on, I know went to play off Andrew Novak. We'll talk about in a minute. Who obviously won last week with Ben Griffin at the Zurich Classic. But that's the Justin Thomas we know from back in the day. Just cool, calm, calculated. Iron play was superb. Putting was superb. Didn't push the putts at all this week. Didn't really push the driver, maybe once or twice. But just really cool, calm, collected. And I think everyone, it's great for the game of golf to have Justin Thomas back, make some back wins. So absolutely delighted for him. Stunning stuff from Justin Thomas to win that playoff. As I said, Andrew Novak, a week makes the world of a difference in golf. Incredible stuff from him. And obviously Ben Griffin. We were obviously a little bit unlucky here with the tips. So Hogard tipped up there, as you can see, alongside his twin brother. Tor Bjornsson and Phillips, they finished 2nd and 4th. So if you had a punt on them, you would have got each way odds back. If you're betting each way, really great stuff from them. The Hogard twins, pretty disappointing for them in terms of the sense of that 18. I think if that drive hadn't gone so far out left, they probably would have been on the green for an eagle to force a playoff. But Ben Griffin came to the rescue. It's funny how these things work out. You look at 16 and 17, nearly in the water in 2 shots. Griffin then chips in to win it for them. Stunning stuff. I actually am happy for Andrew Novak because he's knocked on the door a number of times this season. He's cognizant, and then obviously finished run up to Justin Thomas 2 weeks ago at the RBC Heritage. Then finally getting over the line with Ben Griffin. And it is the type of tournament that can kick on, guys. Once you get that win, we saw what he did to Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry last year. Both really motored on that season when they got the win. It does a world of good for guys' confidence. So happy as Larry for Andrew Novak because he does seem like a really decent guy. We have an interview up with him, actually, the post round after, if you want to go check that out. We've Scottie Scheffler also talking about this week's CJ Cup Byron Nelson, which we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes' time. But unbelievable stuff, a great couple of weeks. I think in terms of going forward, we really are in for a stunning US PGA Championship, and I think Scottie's going to win this week. I think you can. It's hard to look at anyone else here this week at TPC Craig Ranch. You look at the course conditions, how Scottie plays. We've talked about it. He's been bubbling the last number of weeks. Putting hasn't been great. He's had that miss to the left with his driver. But see, the thing here is in this course, a lot like Justin Thomas when he won at RBC Heritage, the miss will actually suit him here on the left because it's not a very penal course. You can get in the rough here and you can still get on the greens. The greens are very receptive here. And also, we've heard how bad the weather's there going to be this week. So we're going to have a lot of rain. I think the PGA Tour confirmed earlier on this morning. I've got up there's my Twitter. Hang on a second, I'll try and get it up. Preferred lies will be in effect for round 1 of the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. So I'd expect that to go on right throughout the week because of the weather here in McKinney, Texas. But as I said, if you look at the way Scottie Scheffler has been trending, like he hasn't finished outside the top 25 last, 8 events? 10? I don't know, the last 8 months. RBC Heritage finished tied 8th, tied 4th at the Masters, tied 2nd, tied 20th at the Players' Championship, tied 11th at the Arnold Palmer, tied 3rd at the Genesis, tied 25th at the WM Phoenix Open. Like, it's absolutely insane. And for people to write off this guy is just absolute horseshit, as I've said. And I did say 2 weeks ago, I didn't like Scottie to win at the RBC Heritage. I said the next tournament he'd play in, he'll win after that. I do fancy Scottie to win Craig Ranches, his home state as well. And everything sort of plays into his favour the way he's playing. And this is going to be a massive confidence boost for him. If he does win here, you'll get him at odds, I think, 4-1. Really for me, I'm not going to actually have a punt on it, but he is by clearing away the front runner this week in the field. I think everyone will possibly agree on that. That's watches golf religiously and is having a punt this week. I don't really like the 4-1. I just think I really never back anyone inside of 10-1. I'd rather have an each way bet and maybe go a little bit more on something of an outside with a longer price that is going to finish inside the top 8 or 10 or whatever the bookies are offering. But really do fancy Scottie this week. Incredible talent. I think it's just sort of building up to one of the greatest years in golf. We're going to see Scottie win. We're going to have Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Bryson coming back in from Live. All these guys bubbling at the right time to have an unbelievable good tournament at Quail Hollow later this month. Okay, so Scottie is thereabouts. There's no question about it for me. Also going to look at Jordan Spieth. I've been saying this for a number of weeks now. Really going in the right direction since getting that wrist surgery. You look at the finishes here. We've had 28th, 12th, 14th, 18th. Again, of course, he knows well. He can get away with the misses with the driver. The puttings looked a lot better in recent weeks. The pulls and the pushes aren't happening as frequently. We know how good his wedge game is. He can get up and down from anywhere. Keep the irons right. One of the most exciting players in tour to watch. Home state, along with Scottie Scheffler. I think he's going to really be in the mix this week. Another one, Ben An, the guy like not like Scheffler in many ways, but a guy who's does tend to go well on lower scoring. We're going to have scores this week are going to be really low. This is a shootout, and especially with the rain as well, the green is going to become more receptive. He's a guy who we've seen, the Sony Open, done well at these sort of shootout courses. Loves his birdies. If he can keep the putter going, he's definitely in with a chance. I do like his odds as well. I think you're looking at sort of 38, 40-1 for him to get over the line here. We've seen a little bit of form. He's trending in the right direction. So it's definitely one to watch for me. Probably more of an each way bet. I'd go, as I said, with Jordan Spieth, Scottie Scheffler as the top two. Mid-tier, Ben An will definitely kick it off for us. As I said, likes these type of courses where, it's not very penile off the tee. Then he preferred lies as well in effect. So we're definitely in for a shootout this week, and I think Ben An could be definitely in the mix. Jake Knapp, really good performance last week at the Zurich Classic. Was I don't mean to be sort of shitting on Frankie Sapan, but he was definitely the better player of the two. They were right in the mix up until the death when Frankie fortunately went in the water in the alternate shot of the final round, and that sort of saw their chances go astray. So yeah, Jake is really doing a lot with the putter at the moment. He's gaining shots in every round he's played over the last, I think, 5 to 8 weeks, which is really good for him. If you look at the odds here for Jake Knapp, if you're betting on an exchange, 45-1 on Jake Knapp, which I think is a really, really good price. A guy who is he's just getting so good. So ever since that win last year at the Mexico Open, Jake Knapp has really gone up in my estimation as a player. I really do like what he's doing. I think there's been improvements. I know the Valero Texas that he's missed. But you can see they're 6th, 12th, missed cut, tied 27th, missed cut. Then he played last week. Obviously, they finished 4th. Doesn't count as no world ranking points, something like that on the line, obviously, for the Zurich Classic. But he's definitely trending in the right direction and played really well last week. Loves a lot of the shots. He played putting exceptional. And he'll take on a shot again. Not a penal, of course, will suit him here. Can go low. So definitely one to watch out for, especially as Rasmus Højgaard, another one, played really well. I think it was the better of the twins last week. And really, they should have won last week. They missed, I'd say, 10 putts with inside 10 feet last week. A lot of them were, I don't mean to be criticising him, but a lot of them did tend to be more Nikolai. If you look at the stats, and if you were following the round, I think it was the Friday, they left a lot of shots out there, maybe 4, 5, 6 shots even. At TPC Louisiana. So I do like Rasmus Højgaard. Again, you're gonna get him, no massive real form going in, but as I said, this event can really kick you on. Tied 32nd, but a guy we all know is going to win on the tour. It's just a matter of time. Both of them will win on the tour, the Højgaard brothers. So really interested to see how he goes this week. You're going to get a good price on him too. You're going to get roughly on the exchange 54 to 1, which is having a little each way bet and that's pretty tasty. If you're going to have a look at that. Okay, another one I do like this week, Ryo Satsune, the Japanese lad, really good player, only a young fella as well. Again, loves to go low. Tied 4th at the Valspar, tied 42nd at the Houston Open. Obviously, a lot different grass. But then again, look at him, the versatility of his game. At the Valero Texas Open, tied 5th. Then RBC Heritage, tied 18th. This guy is a top talent. This guy is going to be around for years to come, in my opinion. PGA Tour. Played last week. Where did they finish last week? Was it 5th or 6th they finished last week? I'm going to look through here now. Where are they? There we are. Tied 18th. They finished. Poor final round with him and Takumi Kanaya. But yeah, a guy I really like. Again, I think the odds again are absolutely way too much here if we're looking at having a bet. So 64 to 1 you're getting on him. Obviously a little bit less if you're betting on the sports book. This is the exchange. But still, mad odds. You'll get 10 to 1 each way return on him if he was to come in this. Ryan Gerard. Again, this guy has just been absolutely sensational. Strokes gained everywhere, all across his game over the last number of weeks. There we go. RBC Heritage, tied 27th, 9th at the 2nd to the Valero Texas, 9th a week before that. Valspar and the players not great, but every week he's been doing something that's been putting his numbers in the positive in terms of strokes gained. I'm pretty high on this guy again this week, definitely for an each way pump we could be looking at here. So you're going to get Ryan Gerard at 69 to 1 again, same as his Atsune. Bloody good bet in my opinion. I didn't actually put Sami Valmaki. We'll talk about Sami in a second, but Michael Thorbjornsen again playing with Carl Phillips last week, finished 3rd. Really impressive. These two guys know each other. They're only about 23. Former US amateur champion Thorbjornsen is. He is one of these guys, I think, that you're going to have him unexpectedly break through in terms of winning on the PGA Tour. Because he's a little bit hot and cold, a little bit raw still. He's missed a lot of cuts. Look, exactly right there. Tied 2nd at the Punta Corrales in Mexico. That was the alternate event on the week of the RBC Heritage. But a guy who's going to get you, he's just going to catch us off guard, I think, at some point. Played really nicely again last week. So that's 3 events in a row where he's actually knocking on the door, playing pretty well. That pair, we backed Phillips earlier in the year. I had him when he won Puerto Rico Open. And I had Russell Henley on the same day as well when he won the API. But I'm really hot on this guy, Thorbjornsen, who was obviously playing with Phillips last week. So you will get him at, let's have a little look there, you'll get him at 84 to 1 this week, which I think is really a good bet. Definitely worth an each way hunt on the sports book. Sammy Valmaki. Let's talk about Sammy. Again, a guy who's really, will go well on this course because he's a guy who loves to drive the ball long. Again, there's no real penal areas here on this golf course at Craig Ranch. Loves to attack pins. He'll go for everything, this guy. And if the greens are receptive, the ball will stick on the green. He's going to have more chance than he normally will if he can get the putter hot. You're going to be looking at Sammy. What price will you get in Sammy? We had a little look there. You're going to be looking at Sammy 79-1. Tell me that's not worth the bet. That is definitely worth the bet, especially for an each way bet. So let's have a little look at Sammy's form. I'm going to whack in here the OWGR. We had him backed a couple of weeks ago. Look, 4th, 12th, 18th. Factor in the conditions here. It's going to be a shootout, going to be low scoring. This is going to suit Sammy Valmaki. I do like Sammy. I think he's one of those guys that can really get a run together. He's a streaky player, but this could be very, very, very good week for Sammy Valmaki. I do still fancy, I'm not going to lie, Scottie to get the job done in general. But, if you're going to have a little outside bets, I think each way is probably the way to look at the market this week and try and get something back in terms of guys that have been knocking on the door. A lot of the names you've mentioned there in recent weeks that are playing really well. You'll get probably top 8 on most of the bookies in the UK and Ireland. If you want to have a little play on them each way, I'd actually highly recommend it. So, what are we else we to talk about? It is picking places. We said receptive greens, limited penalties off the tee. It is a pretty easy course. Scottie was talking about. We have an interview actually. Scottie was speaking yesterday up on the channel there. He was speaking last night. If you want to check it out. Listen, if you're getting value out of this, do hit the subscribe button, like, notifications, all that, because we're going to have lots more coming weeks. As I said to you, I'm going to get a little bit more structured because this has been a bit of a mess the last couple of weeks with a load of technical issues with this fucking thing and that fucking thing. A load of the stuff on my thing here isn't working. I don't have the ticker this week, if you notice as well, that comes across off the screen there. So that's been a bit of a pain in the ass. Another thing I want to mention on the Ryder Cup, right? If you look at a lot of the pairings there, this is why I think Europe, again, are a notch or two ahead of Team USA in terms of actually planning for the Ryder Cup, thinking about it. You look at last week's Zurich Classic field. How many potential pairs did you have there that Team Europe could play in the Ryder Cup? And Luke Donald actually said it prior to the event. He was actually playing himself. But you had the Højgaard twins. You had Thomas Dietrich, Rob McIntyre. Shane Lowry, Rory McIlroy. There was a number of guys that are basically shoo-ins for the Ryder Cup for Team Europe that were playing together. Not one player, not one pairing did I see who I think is going to be on, the US team. We had Kurt Kitayama, Colin Morikawa. No offense to Kitayama, but he's not going to be in the Ryder Cup team, in my opinion. So I think that's a ball drop for Keegan Bradley in a side where they could have actually tested out some pairings. You can go right through the field. Maybe Andrew Novak might be in the Ryder Cup, but all respect to Ben Griffin, it's not going to happen. But yeah, I just find that a little bit strange that maybe there's that sense of it a little bit lacking still with Team America in terms of that actual let's go out and get this, let's plan ahead, let's really sort of attack where we want to go with the Ryder Cup. And you can see there's clearly a couple of teams there, like Rob McIntyre and Thomas Dietrich would be a very, very good team, and I expect both them to be the Ryder Cup team, even if they don't qualify automatically. So that was a little bit of a strange one for me, but kudos to Luke Donald for yet again having that in place and in play where they're going to actually sort of start testing things. When we're what are we, 6 months out from Bethpage Black, and Luke rigorous with this stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was pre-planned. I'd imagine it was pre-planned beforehand. And, you expected probably the twins to play together, but there was a couple other pairings that he could have had a look at there in terms of Team Europe. So really good stuff from Luke Donald and the guys. But yeah, really looking forward to this week. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker of an event. But I do, this is the week where you go, Scottie's back. Scottie's back in the mix. Scottie, we've JT, Rory. We've all the big guns. Jordan Spieth's going to be knocking on the door as well. That's what we want. And I think we're actually not too far off getting there. So I do expect Scottie Scheffler to win this week. But as I said, loads of other tasty little tickling bets knocking around there. It's actually teeing off in 10 minutes time. Or maybe it's off actually. 12:50 here it is in Dublin. 12:58 p.m. So I'm going to get out of here. That was a fun, quick one just to get out of the way. I'm going to try, as I said, bear with me. Heating problems at the moment in terms of getting all this stuff right. I've had a few bloody nightmares, as I said, the last week, as I couldn't do a show last week. Technical issues. So I'm trying to knock that in the head and get them all sorted, ironed out. But yeah, really looking forward to the weekend. Golf is on now, and I think we're gonna pull off something here this week. Again, the run has been good. I think if you look, what have we got there? The post there. I think 3 of the last 5 weeks we've had a winner, and we've had each ways all over the shop. So, hang on, I'll pull that up there. Yeah, we've had each ways and winners all over the shop. We got, this is this week's obviously. 2 each ways last weekend. Justin Thomas to be before. Let's not talk about the Masters. Absolute disaster. You're going to get that. We had the week before 2 weeks before the Masters. We had Minwoo Lee winning, and Davis Riley was in each way. There was a couple other each ways. Gary Woodland was in each way at that at a massive price as well. So if you're getting value out of this, do whack that button there for your notifications. But anyway, listen, going to get out of here. Enjoy the golf. We're going to get a bit more organised next week. I'm going to do sections on the show. Bang in some comments there. Any questions you want to ask, anything like that, we'll shout it out. But Niall McGrath, do me up on the socials as well. Twitter, Instagram, Niall McGrath 4. That's where you'll get me. So enjoy the golf. On live now for the weekend, and we'll chat next week. So good luck and good night. Four.
All right. One left.